Okay, so in a story that's going to change no one's mind, because as we know, people would rather die than consider a new point of view, people who live in red states die younger. Conservative policies are to blame. So we have a new analysis on this. Now, a major study demonstrates the differences in life expectancy correlate closely with many state policies. Most red states have adopted more policies that correlate strongly with lives cut short, while most blue states have adopted opposite policies. This makes sense. Which party tries to get more people health care? Which party tries to get less people health care, right? Which party tries to make sure that people have a decent standard of living? Which party tries to make sure that really just the rich people get it all? These things all contribute to life expectancy. So it makes total sense that if you live in one state versus another, you're going to live longer. So if you go back to, say, the 60s, there wasn't a big difference. Most states were more or less the same. But since we started polarizing, since Reagan, and basically trying to degrade a lot of these policies that help expand people's lives, we're seeing some issues, right? The Montez study reveals that life expectancy in red and blue states began to diverge slowly in the 1970s, but accelerated in 1980 when Ronald Reagan propelled the rise of the modern conservative movement. The year 2010 was another watershed moment, the study says, when Republicans swept into power in 21 states and aggressively eliminated liberal policies, noticeably shortening the lives of red state residents. So if you think your vote doesn't matter, it literally is taking years out of people's lives. It very much matters. All right, take for example, in 2017, life expectancy at birth in West Virginia was 74.6 years, but in Hawaii was 81.6 years, a 7-year difference. So 7 years, you're going to live 7 years longer just based on what state you live in. So they picked these two states because if you go back 60 years, these states were roughly the same. West Virginia and Hawaii, about the same if you compare them. Now there is a 7-year difference in between those because there's a difference in the kind of health care you can get. So if you ranked these as countries, West Virginia would rank 93 among countries, and they would be online with Morocco, Tunisia, Honduras. Whereas if you ranked Hawaii, it would be up there with the states that have really good life expectancy, like Canada, right? States like that, and parts of Europe, Iceland, Sweden. So it makes a big difference, right? So when you're going to vote for the one that's going to help you live longer. I mean, you're literally voting for years of your life. It's not just about well-being. It's about like literal, measurable life expectancy, right? All right, and here, health scientists have known for more than 2 decades that differences in medical care explain only 10 to 15%. So medical care is a big part of it. It's 15% of the discrepancy, but there's other stuff going on here, right? Between the overall health of these two populations, the other 85 to 90% can be explained by the social determinants of health, including employment, income, education, social insurance, health, unemployment, retirement, the environment, right? What you're exposed to, civil rights, fair employment versus housing practices, racism, sexism, and other social circumstances, right? The worse off you are, the more stress you're going to have. That kind of stress that they're showing reduces lifespan, makes people live not as long as they would otherwise. So, your healthcare is a major part of it, but every aspect of people's lives, when you degrade someone's lives, you're adding stress, you're adding difficulty, and it wears people out. Literally, you die earlier. So these are there's a movement in the world right now to look at poverty as literally being a health condition, right? Because, where do you live? You live in the unhealthiest parts, because if you have the money, you wouldn't live in an unhealthy area. So the poor people end up living in unhealthy areas, and they get to deal with the health consequences of that. They have the most stressful time, right? You have the unstable jobs, the low-paying jobs. That kind of stress beats you down, and it shortens lifespans. So that is an area that science is looking at right now, is literally trying to treat poverty as a health condition, right? A health condition, not just, we just look at your bank account and that's the big effect. You have more or less money. It literally is affecting people's health. So these effects are far reaching. So when we're voting for or against certain individuals, or we are voting for or against certain proposals, you need to realize it's literally years of people's lives that we can measure and show make a big difference. And let's face it, if we don't do something, this is only going to continue to expand. We'll see blue states where people are living better and better, red states where they're doing worse and worse because they're just going to keep cutting. So keep it in mind when you're voting, everybody. Keep it in mind. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you in the next video.